I'm not the kind of guy who snoops around or looks for reasons to be suspicious, but there's something that happens to your brain when a single detail doesn't add up. It starts to scratch at the back of your mind like a pebble in your shoe, subtle at first, then unbearable. It started with a damn jacket. A men's jacket that wasn't mine, hanging on the back of our dining room chair one Wednesday night when I came home from work. Navy blue, kind of sporty, smelled like a mix of cologne and gym socks. Not expensive cologne either, just that overpowering, cheap stuff guys wear to clubs when they want to smell like they're trying too hard. I stood there staring at it, wondering what idiot forgot his jacket, thinking maybe her brother had stopped by or one of her coworkers came over to drop something off. But I looked around and nothing else was out of place. No extra shoes at the door, no coffee mugs on the counter, no signs anyone else had been here. And when I picked it up, the pockets were empty, no wallet, no keys, just a crumpled receipt from a nearby diner with a date on it from the day before, 2 milkshakes, 2 burgers, fries. My wife is a vegetarian. When Tara walked in from the backyard holding a laundry basket like everything was normal, I didn't say anything about the jacket right away. I watched her face instead. I said, "Someone forget something," and gestured to it, casually, like I wasn't dissecting every blink of her eyes. She looked at it for half a second longer than she should have, and then laughed, too light, too rehearsed, and said, "Oh, that's probably Dave's, from work. He stopped by to pick up a charger he left here a while ago." That didn't sound right, because I didn't even know she had a coworker named Dave who she was friendly enough with to be bringing to the house while I was at work. But I nodded and said, "Ah, right," and didn't press it. She kept folding laundry like I hadn't just peeled back a corner of something rotten. I took the jacket upstairs and hung it in the front closet like it didn't matter, but it did. That night, I stayed up later than usual, pretending to read a book on the couch. I could hear the shower running upstairs, and when she came down in pajamas and kissed me on the forehead, I couldn't stop thinking about those 2 burgers on the receipt and the jacket hanging in our hallway closet. Who goes out for burgers with a vegetarian and leaves his jacket behind without calling to get it back? The next morning, something else set off the alarm bells. Tara always packed our daughter's lunch the same way, with little handwritten notes. She liked doing that, those dumb inspirational quotes or drawings of cats wearing sunglasses. But Thursday morning, as I was helping Lily zip up her backpack, I saw a napkin inside with what looked like a half-erased doodle and the faint outline of a heart drawn in pen, then scribbled out. Tara never scribbles anything out. She's careful, precise. That napkin looked like it had been stuffed in last minute, like it wasn't meant for our daughter at all. "Mom drew this?" I asked, holding it up. Lily shrugged and said, "I guess." It was already in there. Tara was in the kitchen pouring coffee. I caught her glance again, and, I swear, she froze for just a second when she saw what I was holding. "What is it?" she asked, casual again. "Just a napkin with some art," I said, folding it neatly and slipping it into my pocket like it meant nothing, like my stomach hadn't just dropped through the floor. You'd think that would have been enough to confront her, but no, I needed more. I needed something undeniable, because you don't just accuse your wife of cheating because of a jacket and a napkin. You need something that makes it impossible for her to lie again. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I told her I was going to visit my brother that weekend to help him move. She smiled, supportive, told me to take my time. But I didn't go anywhere. I parked my car 3 blocks from the house and waited. All Friday evening, I sat there, sweating in my own paranoia, watching the windows of the house I bought, wondering if I was the crazy one. But at 8:43 p.m., I saw a shadow cross the living room. A man, broad shoulders, definitely not her brother, not a delivery guy, and definitely not Dave from work. I waited. 40 minutes passed. No one left the house. The blinds were drawn. The lights dimmed. I started my car and drove away, but I didn't go far. I went straight to my friend Matt's place, told him everything, and asked if I could borrow his spare key to his studio. It's above his garage, used to be a rental, now just storage. I needed space to think, and I sure as hell wasn't going back home. When I returned Sunday evening, Tara greeted me with a kiss and asked how my brother's move went. I said it was fine, exhausting, and I was glad to be home. She smelled like vanilla shampoo and dryer sheets. Her phone buzzed on the counter, and she picked it up quick, thumbed something out, and turned it face down. That's when I knew, whatever this was, it wasn't in my head anymore. The plan wasn't complicated. I just wanted to be absolutely sure, not a hint of doubt. No way she could twist it or blame me for jumping to conclusions. I told her I was working late all week, even threw in a fake meeting with a client I said was coming in from out of town. She bought it, no questions. She even seemed relieved, like me being gone made her schedule easier to manage. That was another red flag, but I was past counting them by now. Every evening that week, I parked 2 blocks down from our house, just far enough not to be seen, but close enough to watch. Monday and Tuesday, nothing happened. She stayed in, lights off early, nothing unusual. But Wednesday night, she turned into the driveway around 6:30, parked, went inside, and then around 7:15, he showed up. Same guy, not tall, but bulky in a way that looked like he used to play football and never quite let go of the weight. Baseball cap pulled low, dark hoodie, walked like he owned the place. No hesitation, no knocking, just let himself in. I didn't even feel angry at that point. My hands weren't shaking. My jaw didn't clench. It was just this dull confirmation that everything I'd suspected was right there in front of me. She hadn't even bothered to be careful. That was the part that got to me. She was confident I was either too stupid or too checked out to notice. That's what made it sting. I stayed in the car, engine off, lights off, just sitting there like a ghost in the neighborhood. At 9:42, he came out, zipped up his hoodie, looked around once, casual, like he didn't even care who saw him, and walked back to his car. I didn't follow him. I didn't need to know where he lived. I didn't care. I already had what I came for. I drove away and went back to Matt's place, told him what I saw, and sat on his old couch staring at the ceiling for what felt like an hour before I spoke again. I need to catch them in the act, I said. Matt looked uncomfortable. Man, are you sure that's what you want to see? No, I said, but I have to. I didn't want to, not really, but it was the only way I'd ever be able to confront her without her wriggling out of it. I needed something that would shut her down before she even opened her mouth to lie. Friday night, I told her I'd be staying at a hotel downtown with the client since we had early breakfast plans. She didn't ask which hotel. She just said, okay, have fun, like I was going to a damn golf tournament and not supposedly putting in hours for work. That told me everything I needed. She already had her night planned. I watched from my car again. She came home at 6:15. At 6:40, the guy showed up again. I waited 10 minutes. Then I walked. I parked my car a few houses away, cut through a neighbor's yard, and went around the back of my own house. I still had my keys. I unlocked the back door slowly, didn't open it all the way. Just stood there, listening. I could hear voices, hers, his, low and muffled. I stepped inside, slow, careful not to make any noise. The kitchen lights were off. The living room lights were dimmed. I crept down the hallway to the bedroom, not even breathing too loud, just listening. I didn't need to see it. I didn't want to see it. But I stood there, outside my own bedroom door, listening to the sounds I'd heard 100 times before, only now they weren't meant for me. It was quiet afterward. I backed away slowly, walked back out the door, and locked it behind me like a guest leaving a house he wasn't supposed to be in. I went back to Matt's, sat down, and said, I got it. You okay? Matt asked. No. Want a drink? No. He didn't push. He just sat there while I stared at the floor and tried to make sense of what I was supposed to do now. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not that night. Not even the next morning. I needed time. I needed a plan. Something that wouldn't just be a confrontation, but a statement. I wanted her to know what it felt like to be blindsided, to be caught so completely she wouldn't even have the energy to lie. I needed to flip the script. She had played this whole thing like I was an idiot. I wanted to be the one who pulled the rug out this time. So I made a plan. 1 week. I would give myself 1 week to prepare everything. And when that week was over, she would feel every second of it. I didn't sleep much that week. I still came home every evening like nothing was wrong, smiled at the kids, did the dishes, watched whatever mindless show Tara had on, and acted like the guy she thought was too distracted to notice her sneaking around. I memorized every detail of our routine, how she acted, how she avoided eye contact sometimes, how she'd check her phone and turn the screen away slightly. She was comfortable, careless even. She thought she had everything under control, and maybe a week ago she did. But now I was on the clock, and I wasn't going to let her know until the very last second. By Wednesday, I had what I needed. Matt helped me out with some basic audio equipment, nothing fancy, just a small recorder with a high-quality mic. I didn't need a full production crew. I just needed proof. I wasn't trying to humiliate her in public or post anything online. I just needed her to hear herself, to listen to what she said to this guy while standing in the home we built together. So Thursday, while she was out with the kids, I placed it behind the dresser in our bedroom, where the power cords and old Wi-Fi router cables made everything look naturally cluttered. I tested it the day before, voice activated, ran on batteries for days, didn't need anything complicated. I had already caught her, but this was for her own words. People can deny what you say you saw, but they can't argue with their own voice. Friday night came, and just like before, she told me she was too tired to do anything. I said I'd head to Matt's for a poker game, even though we both knew I hated poker. She just said, "Have fun," without looking up from her phone. I walked out, locked the door, circled the block, and waited. At 7:18, he arrived. No knock, just walked in, the same way you'd enter your own place. I didn't go back inside this time. I let the recorder do its job. I waited 2 hours in my car, checking my watch every few minutes like a man waiting for a delivery he never wanted. Then I drove to Matt's, picked up the spare laptop we used for editing videos back in college, and uploaded the file. I listened to 10 minutes of it. That's all I could take. 10 minutes of hearing my wife laugh like she used to laugh with me, telling him she missed him, saying he made her feel alive again, like our life was some kind of cage. 10 minutes of her describing how boring things had gotten, how she felt unseen, how she wished I traveled more often so they could have a real night for once. Then there was silence, then moaning, then more words I didn't want to hear. I stopped the playback. I didn't need the rest. That was enough. Saturday morning, I made breakfast. Pancakes, eggs, coffee, like everything was fine. Tara came downstairs in her robe, kissed me on the cheek, and poured herself orange juice like nothing had happened. She didn't even notice anything was off. Our daughter was at a sleepover, our son glued to his tablet in the other room. It was the perfect time. I didn't wait for the kitchen to clear or try to pull her aside. I just put my plate down, looked across the table, and said, "So how long have you been sleeping with the guy from your office?" Her face didn't change right away. She blinked once, set her cup down, and said, "What?" I said. I repeated, "How long have you been cheating on me with him?" There was a pause, just a few seconds, but it felt like a long elevator ride. She didn't deny it, didn't fake confusion. She just lowered her eyes and said, "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is," I said, keeping my voice flat. "Because I've seen him walk into our house 3 times. I stood outside while you were in the bedroom with him. I recorded it. I heard you say he makes you feel alive. I heard every word." Her hands trembled. "You were spying on me?" I was confirming the truth. "Because apparently, you thought I was stupid enough to believe you were just working late or tired or whatever excuse you thought I'd accept. I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. But you didn't even try to hide it. You brought him into our house, into our bedroom. It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said, her voice breaking. "How was it supposed to happen, Tara?" I asked. "Were you going to keep seeing him while I raised the kids and paid the bills and kept pretending we were fine? Was that your plan? I didn't mean to hurt you. You just didn't care enough not to." She looked like she was going to cry, but I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. I wasn't there to make her feel better about what she did. I was there to let her face it. "What do you want me to say?" she asked, finally looking at me. "I don't want you to say anything. I want you to listen. I'm not going to shout or throw things or make a scene. I'm going to show you how it feels to be replaced, lied to, and discarded like I didn't matter. You've had your fun. Now it's my turn." She stared at me, stunned, like she didn't know who I was anymore. And maybe she didn't, because the version of me she betrayed didn't exist anymore. I gave her 48 hours, not out of kindness, but because I needed time to prepare. When she asked what that meant, I told her plainly. I'd be moving out, and I expected her to explain to the kids what she'd done. She tried to say it was a mistake, that it wasn't serious, that she hadn't even known what she wanted, but I told her I didn't care what excuses she had prepared. I didn't want a story. I wanted consequences. I slept on the couch that night, not out of protest, but because I didn't want to share a space with her. She offered to go to her sister's. I said no. I wanted her to sit with it. The next morning, I took our son to school like I always did. He didn't notice anything different. I even joked with him like nothing had happened. But when I came back, I started packing. Not the casual type, not a suitcase with a few shirts, but boxes. Real ones. Things from the closet, my tools from the garage, my old photo albums, backup drives, my things from the bathroom drawer. I didn't move like someone bluffing. I moved like someone who was already gone in his mind. She came downstairs around 9, still in her robe, and just stood there watching. "You're really doing this?" she asked. I said I would. I answered without looking at her. "So that's it. 9 years, and you're just walking away." "You already did." She didn't respond right away. She just stood there, like she thought maybe she could find the right thing to say that would freeze time or make this all stop moving forward. But I wasn't interested in her guilt or her sadness. I was interested in what came next. That afternoon, I dropped off the kids at her parents' place. I told them Tara and I needed some time to talk, and her mom looked at me like she already knew. That irritated me more than it should have. I wasn't angry at her family, but I didn't like the idea that maybe they were in on it, or maybe they'd been watching her crumble and didn't say anything. I let it go and left. That night, I called the guy. I didn't threaten him. I didn't scream. I just called and said, "You know who this is?" There was a pause. "I do." "Good. You need to stay away from my wife. You already crossed the line. Don't come back to my house. Don't text her. Don't call her. You don't want the kind of attention I can bring into your life if you keep this up." He tried to play tough, said something like, "She's not your property." "She's not," I replied. "But my house is. My kids are. And if I ever see your face near any of that again, I'll stop being polite. This is your warning." He hung up. I didn't call back. I'd said what I needed to. That weekend, I started making changes. I went to the bank and split the joint account. I didn't take everything. I wasn't trying to ruin her. I took exactly what was fair, what I knew I earned. I closed my access to the credit cards. I met with a lawyer on Monday and started the process. I didn't tell her until the papers were ready. When I handed them to her, she just stared at the envelope and asked, "You already filed?" "No, but I'm ready to." She didn't open it. She placed it on the table and walked away. 3 days later, I picked up the kids from school and told them we were staying at Matt's for a while. I didn't say why. I just said Mom and Dad needed some space and that it wasn't their fault. I made it clear I'd be seeing them just as much, that nothing about how much I loved them was changing. Our daughter asked if this meant we weren't going to do movie nights anymore. I told her we'd still do them, just maybe in a different living room. She didn't cry. That almost hurt more than if she had. The following week, I sent out a message to a few mutual friends. Nothing dramatic. Just a short explanation. Tara and I are separating. She was unfaithful. I'm not asking anyone to pick sides, but I'd appreciate your respect as we figure this out. That was it. The responses came quickly. Most were supportive. A few were awkward, but one stood out. A guy I hadn't talked to in over a year messaged me directly. Was it the dude from her office? "That guy's a creep. Tried to hit on my wife at a holiday party last year." I stared at that message for a long time. It wasn't surprising, not really, but it confirmed what I already knew. This guy wasn't some great romantic escape for her. He was just available. That made it worse somehow. She didn't even cheat with someone meaningful. She threw away everything for a placeholder. By the end of the week, I had moved into a short-term rental. Small place. Clean. Quiet. The kids stayed over on the weekends. I kept things steady for them. I answered their questions. I told them I loved them every chance I got. Tara texted me once to ask if we could talk. I replied, "Soon." It took her a week to ask again. This time, she didn't text. She called. I almost didn't answer, but I figured it was better than letting her think I was hiding. Her voice was quieter than usual, and I could tell she'd been crying before dialing. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask about the kids. She just said, "Can we please talk in person?" I told her I'd come by after work, and she just said, "Okay," and hung up. No begging, no explanations, just a tone like she was already bracing for impact. When I arrived at the house, the lights were dimmed, and she was already sitting at the dining table, the same spot where I had confronted her weeks before. There was a stack of papers on the edge, unopened mail probably, and a couple of empty mugs that looked like they hadn't been touched in days. I didn't sit right away. I stood across from her and waited. "Why now?" I asked. "Because I didn't know how to say anything before," she said. "And I figured you wouldn't want to hear it anyway." "That's fair," I said. "But I'm here now. So say it." She looked up at me, and her face was drawn and pale. "I know you hate me. I don't hate you. I'm just done pretending I don't know who you really are." Her mouth opened slightly, like she was going to push back, but she didn't. Instead, she said, "I was unhappy." "You didn't say that," I replied. I didn't know how. Every time we talked, it felt like we were just reporting to each other. About bills, the kids, groceries. I didn't know how to bring it up. So you slept with someone instead. I didn't plan to. It just. Don't say it just happened, I said sharply, sitting down now, because I didn't want to be the one towering over her like some angry cliché. You made decisions. You planned time with him. You lied. You opened the door. You invited him in. You closed it behind him. Don't pretend it was spontaneous. She nodded slowly. I know. You're right. We sat in silence for a moment. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the faint ticking of the kitchen clock. It was the quietest the house had been in months. I don't love him, she said. That doesn't make this better. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Then what are you asking for? I don't know, she said, her voice cracking. Maybe just to explain. Maybe to make sure you understand I wasn't trying to destroy everything. I just felt like I was already living in something broken, and I didn't know how to fix it. I would have helped if you'd told me, I said. But you didn't want help. You wanted distraction. She looked down at the table, rubbed the base of her palm across the wood like she was trying to wipe away something sticky. I've never felt smaller in my life. That's not my goal. I know. We sat there for a long time. She asked about the kids, and I answered. She asked if I was staying at Matt's, and I told her no, that I found a rental. She asked if I had filed the papers yet. No, I said, but I've read them every night. Are you going to? I think so. She nodded. I figured. I'm not doing it to punish you, I added. I'm doing it because I don't believe you'll ever be honest with me again. I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what's true. I wouldn't blame you, she whispered. I leaned forward. Tara, I didn't come here to drag this out. I came here to tell you that whatever this was, it's over. I'll always care about you, because you're the mother of my children, and we did build a life together. But I don't love you anymore. Not like before. Her eyes welled up again, but she didn't let the tears fall. Are you going to tell them? I'll explain it in a way that doesn't destroy them. I'm not going to weaponize your mistake. Thank you, she said. I stood up, and she did too, reflexively. I didn't go in for a hug. I didn't touch her at all. I just said, if there's anything you want to ask me, now's the time. She looked at me and asked, was there ever someone else for you? No, I answered without hesitation. There never was. I didn't need anyone else. She nodded. That makes it worse. Good, I said. It should. And I left. She didn't follow me. She didn't call out. She just stayed where she was, probably staring at the seat I'd just been in, like maybe it still had something to say. The day I filed the papers, I didn't feel triumphant or relieved. I just felt like someone checking off the final item on a long, ugly list. The woman behind the counter at the courthouse didn't flinch when I handed her the envelope. She saw this 100 times a day. No one asked me if I was sure, because by the time people get to that point, they've already had enough certainty to drag themselves there. I signed the last page, thanked her, and walked out without looking back. I didn't call Tara to tell her. She would get the notification in the mail, and she'd know. I'd already said everything that needed to be said. The next weekend, I sat down with the kids. Not at home, not at her place. At the park, the one with the shaded benches and the pond they used to feed ducks at when they were small. I brought snacks, tried to keep it casual, but I didn't sugarcoat anything either. I told them Mom and Dad weren't going to live together anymore, that we both still loved them, and that this wasn't about them. I didn't go into details, but I didn't lie. I said we were separating because of choices that hurt the relationship, and I said I hoped we could still work as parents, even if we weren't together anymore. Our daughter asked if we'd ever get back together. I told her I didn't think so. Our son didn't say much. He just stared at the ground and nodded once. I didn't push him to talk. I just told them I'd always be there, and I'd do whatever I could to make this easier for them. Tara texted me that night. She said, "Thank you for not turning them against me." I read the message, stared at it for a long time, and then replied, "I'm not you." She didn't respond. The first few weeks after the separation were harder than I expected. Not because I missed her, but because of how quiet everything became. My phone didn't buzz as much. My evenings weren't filled with routine noise anymore. I had space, too much space, but I didn't regret it. Regret requires you to think things could have gone another way, and I didn't believe that anymore. This was always going to happen. I just didn't see it soon enough. Matt invited me out more. I went, not to distract myself, but because I had to rebuild something, even if it started with a burger and a few awkward laughs at a bar I didn't really like. Other friends came out of the woodwork, people I hadn't heard from in months suddenly wanting to grab lunch or see how I was doing. Some of them clearly just wanted the gossip, but I didn't care. Let them talk. I kept it simple and never badmouthed her. I didn't need to. A few people tried to set me up with someone. I shut that down fast. I wasn't ready. Maybe I wouldn't be for a long time. I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of choosing wrong again, of not seeing it coming, of not catching the signs until it was too late. So I stayed focused on the kids, on my job, on making sure the next version of my life didn't carry over any of the damage from the last one. Then one night, a couple of months after the papers were served, Tara called. Not to beg, not to reopen anything, just to talk. I know you probably don't care, she said, but I ended things with him. A while ago. I assumed, I said. I thought maybe you'd be happy to hear it. I'm not. She was quiet for a while, then asked, Are you doing okay? I'm doing fine. I didn't expect you to handle this like you did. You didn't expect a lot of things, I said. Fair. I'm not angry anymore, I told her. But I'm also not interested in fixing anything. I'm not asking you to. Then what do you want, Tara? I guess I wanted to tell you I'm sorry again. Even if it doesn't matter. It doesn't, I said. But thanks for saying it. She asked if we could maybe get coffee sometime, just to catch up. I said, That's not a good idea. Okay, she said. I figured. After that, she didn't call again. Life kept going. Slowly, it got easier. I cooked more. I fixed up the little rental to feel like mine. I spent more time with the kids. I took some quiet weekends by myself, just to sit and not think about anything. I started to sleep better. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped wondering what she was doing. I stopped caring whether she regretted it or not. One afternoon, I ran into her at the grocery store. She smiled politely. I nodded. We didn't say anything. We just moved on with our carts. That's how it ends. Not with some dramatic scene or final confrontation. Just two people in a store, buying groceries, no longer connected by anything except the past. And honestly, that's enough.